Good evening. I am Vega. Vaguely serious. No, actually, I'm Treva, and I'm a singer. um, so, there's been, as you know, some issues going on around me, and I've had to really tap into some abilities of mine that I've had since childhood. You know, the veil is very thin for me. If you've listened to any of my other videos, you know that's true. But, I mean, it's just something that I have. It's not something that I've, embraced as far as, really doing that. But I have great respect for the spiritual community because, one thing I've noticed that I love is to get the facts. I like to get the straight facts, and sometimes, they will change it and you don't get, it's almost like they allude to or say certain things, but when I hear it, I can pick up what is meant for me, like, just like that. And a while back, the veil was really thin, and my grandmother, Marcella, did in fact come through on somebody's reading as I just randomly was scrolling by. It was like really weird. But it wasn't even just that, it was what happened after that. And feeling those sensations, knowing that I could speak, even the names of my relatives, and known that they were really very close by. And they were too. It was not a joke, And so, I'm not a trained psychic. I don't, I'm not a trained medium. It's just that, and I think that most of the time when these things happen, you're kind of born with it. You can learn it, yes. I think everybody has a potential of opening their minds and being able to do that, but I don't know any of the woo-woo. I don't know any of the, the common, terminology that people are using these days. And so, I make fun just for fun because I'm kind of like, I just like to laugh, but it's not personal. I really do appreciate the tarot readers that really do care about the truth and that are, that more are on the more of the psychic investigator side of things. They want to get to the bottom of the truth, and early on I was really dismayed because I could tell when somebody was being paid to speak a certain narrative. Like they could, and we know that everybody in the community, they want to get paid. And so, but you can tell when somebody wants them to say something a certain way, and just to see, and even though they were testing, people out there to see who really had this gift of intuition and could really read, spiritual energy, which, you can't deny it. There's frequencies, no different than your radio, your television, and, a Wi-Fi, right? So, and all of us are energetic beings. We are we are all run on electricity, and so it's not hard for me to understand that. But we're also creatures of of God. Somebody had to make us, right? We didn't just all of a sudden appear one day and, well, I guess we did, but way back when, But who's to say, But as we've evolved, we do know that somehow, some way, we've come. Human beings exist, and so I'm not going to philosophize how all of that happened when none of us really know exactly how that happened. I don't think so. I'd love to, find out that someone does know how this world began, who's responsible for it, but I don't know if anybody really has that answer of the first, how long did it take after the caveman before someone became a regular Homo sapien? I don't know. But I do know this, that we are all energetic, and that with our emotions and our brain, we can energetically pick up. It's no different than picking up, when your boss is mad, or your partner in your relationship, is maybe not telling you something, that you really want to know. you energetically pick up on each other's emotions all of the time. But some of us are able to do that with people that we don't know. We can kind of just, kind of get an idea. And so, and there's still, well, there's certain things that, that help that, discern maybe why you would think that someone would have a propensity to behave in a certain way. But until they do it, you can't really pick up on the energy, but there's still some kind of knowing behind all of that, right? And so, but again, because I had a life-threatening illness at one time, and well, yeah, and I was diagnosed that I wasn't going to make it. So a lot of people made some decisions because they thought, and I did too. I thought that I wasn't going to make it, and so they made some, decisions that were very dishonest. And a lot of us have been working very hard to investigate what happened, right? Because we want the truth. I'm still alive. I still want to, follow my own path and my own dreams. And people tell me, because I'm so very intuitive, that I have to do a certain thing, which is, I don't mind that. It's okay if I can help. I really want to help. But on the other hand, I am a singer. I'm a singer. I'm a singer. And then they say, oh, you're too old for that. But nonsense, as long as, as long as I'm alive, I still have that dream, and I'm not going to just let somebody take that away from me because of my age. I raised children mostly on my own, and I had to, work for different jobs and provide for my family. And so, and at that time, I was also very religious too. And so I didn't really delve into the spiritual aspect of my gifts, even though I always knew that I had them. I always knew that I was an empath. I always knew that. But, and I really did have this energetic ability to pick up on what people were about, what they were doing behind my back, even though they thought that I didn't know. I really didn't know. I could tell if they were hiding something, or, I could tell. And plus, especially with the people that because they could repeat that behavior so many times that you kind of understand what they're about. And you might not be able to put your finger on it exactly, but you absolutely know who they are and what they're all about. So, with that being said, we're going to take a look into my crystal ball. Here we go. You ready? Okay, here's my crystal ball. What are you going to tell me? Oh, I see Jesus. I see baby Jesus lying in a manger. I see Mary and Joseph in a stable, and there's a lamb. Let me show you why. It's a nativity. I love to freak out the religious community and the spiritual community. Yeah, can you see it? I don't know if you can see it. Oh. Can you hear the music? Okay. I would never give up believing in Jesus. I never. And many of the spiritual community, they believe in Jesus. Of course they do. Some of them don't. But I think, and then there's, people in the other parts, if I could speak, other parts of the world, they don't, believe in him in the same way. They realize that he lived, but they don't believe in him in the same way that some of us do. But in spite of what anyone believes, I really know, I know that most people realize that there has to be a divine creator. There is, and that he's given each one of us a light inside of ourselves. There's a light inside of us. There really is. And we know what's good and bad. We know when we're doing good, and we know when we're doing bad. And all of us have been both, so we can't lie about that. We can't. But there are rituals that we all do. And some people call it, they say, okay, well, I've learned that Christians can use, Bible verses, or there's people, or witches that use the Bible to do spells on people. And they chant them over and over again. These are weird things to me. I don't understand that, It's really very simple for me. I get on my knees and I do pray to Jesus Christ. And I pray to Heavenly Father in the name of Jesus Christ. I've always done that, and for no matter what anybody says, I don't think I'll ever stop. I know I won't. How could I ever? There's been so many times that I have been saved. I could tell you so many stories of things that I've gone through where I know that there was divine intervention without a doubt in my mind. And even these angels or these presences that have, lived before, or they're angelic, there's no religious person in the world that wouldn't tell you that spirituality, is real. It really is real. And and we have a lot to learn still, but I feel very strongly that when I get on my knees and I ask him to help me and to be with me, or whatever it is, like help me do a good job, or help me to know what to say, that's what I do. And I'm a comedian. I like to make people laugh. That's important. And I like to sing. I like drama. Well, I like comedy drama. Dramedy. But there when I was doing that little skit, about burning writing down the things that I wanted to change about myself, and then lighting a match and then burning it. That actually is something that I do energetically, because I'm making I'm taking actual action to to tell myself more than anyone else. I mean, usually no one else has anything to do with it. It's just between me, myself, and God, right? And I'll write those things down, and make my goal list. And I guess we should do that more than just on January 1st. But when I write that list of things that I want to purge, it really is very important to me. I mean, I take it seriously. And when you purge it in that way, in a way that is meaningful to you, and you're burning it and you really want it to go, it doesn't mean that you might not take that behavior back later on. But you can always try to let it go again. You can always say, okay, burn it. I really want to let this go. I want to let this go. And I do believe in breaking the bonds this way, bonds of things that have held us back, or that hold us back. And it's intention, right? Whether you are a psychic, or a tarot reader, or a religious person, have you noticed that no matter what the industry, there's good and there's bad. It's the intention. It's what you do with it, right? It isn't the cards aren't innately bad. They're cards. And they used to be like, they were in the 1800s, when earlier on, oh, wait a minute. I mean, how did they know about tarot cards in the Bible? I don't know. But, these were just games that they played. They really weren't even about, anything demonic, as far as I know. They were just, card games. But they became this thing because somehow they became spiritual games. And you don't want to bring any dark energies in, that are unholy into your life. And believe me, as much as there are angels, there's also, the other side, that the ones we don't want to talk to. We don't want them in our lives. And I have had experiences with both. let me tell you, I have more than one time. And there's never a point where you can't call, Heavenly Father, Jesus, help me, or even use the four square. If you've got some kind of, negative energy you feel. I mean, I've always believed that. And I know that religion believes that. I know they do. And so for me to say, a while back that my grandmother, warned me, she really did. And that's not the first time. And I get chills when I talk about it because she did. And there's just, it when it happens to you, and you know that you've got somebody that has loved you or was in your life, and they're trying to, and I really do believe it, that we have ancestors and people that have passed on before us that really do protect us, and really do let us know when we're in harm's way. And I've also learned that a lot of the most evil things happen from living people more than they do in the spiritual realm. Not that doesn't have severe power. I mean, there's proof that that's true, but more harm can happen in this realm than that one, because you've got living people that can come up against you and harm you, physically harm you. And so that's really where potential harm can come from, is from living people, not from the dead. So with that said, anyway, when I was, I thought that what I would do again is that I didn't really do a serious list. And it might not be all the personal things I personally want to get rid of, but more or less generic. And I mean, I can do the personal reading or for myself later. I can, but it really is a good practice, and it really does cleanse you, and it really does, break a cord. I mean, I guess there's a few ways you could even do it. I imagine you could even hold a cord above a flame and just put a name on each end and just like burn it and then separate it. I imagine that would break the bond, whatever bond that is, over someone's life, right? You've got to know probably who's coming up against you, and that's one thing. I mean, but being that I don't know exactly everyone that's come up against me, it will have to be done in a generic way. So I'm going to do it like that. And no tarot cards are needed for something like this. It's just, I want to purge the things that are no longer serving me. Okay. Now, I'm not here to try to compete with any spiritualists or any vocalists either. And I've told you, it's just really such a waste of time to worry about what somebody else is doing. There's not two people that are exactly alike, and it's just like, even when I do listen to the tarot readers, I can tell the ones that really are coming through clearly, that really are clear about what they're saying. I'm not picking up on any negative energy. Sometimes but the karmic ones sometimes can say things inadvertently that also help, but, because at least I can identify them. But for the most part, you can glean information from the dark and the light so that you know what really is going on in your life, And I'm not saying delve in darkness. Please don't do that, okay? But we all have good and bad, and, we just do the best. I spend more time in the light. I stay in the light. And I find that laughter is the best medicine, and it keeps me in a high vibration, and I don't, if I felt really bad about something, I wouldn't do it. I know, I mean, and we're all, learning and evolving as we go along. And I don't, and I've made friends and enemies from the on the religious side, and and friends and enemies on the spiritual side. But I'm not really competing with anyone. I'm just being myself. Really, that's all you can do. I keep telling you this, because if you are committed to just being who you are no matter what, you're on safe ground. If you're not borrowing anything from somebody else or stealing their work and you're just working on yourself, you really don't have anything to worry about. But if there's a good message, that can be spread, I don't think there's a problem with that either, as long as it's not plagiarism, but the idea of things, because we want to spread love and, we want to end peace and we want to work safely here online, no matter what, we're doing, as long as it's legal and we're not harming anyone, right? And so that is the main thing. And so instead of, I really liked, actually, one thing though about the skit that I did that I truly liked was the sound effects of the toilet flushing. That was really nice because it actually it even was more impactful, I think, by flushing it down the toilet, because that showed the utter disdain that I was feeling for those situations that I just didn't want to have to deal with anymore. And I realized that, as time goes on, I'm going to have to deal with negative people. Or people that want to, come up against me or somebody, that doesn't deserve it. You've got better things to do with your time. You do. You do. Okay? You do. And nobody, there's so many of us that believe me, that have these intuitive gifts, of discernment and are able to read energy really, really well. That, it's just, you're just better off, giving everybody a chance. Don't jump to conclusions. And just because somebody has spiritual gifts, don't write them off as being evil just because they have spiritual gifts that you don't have. And you're a religious person and you have a problem with it. Because really you're closing your own mind. And I promise you this too. If you've got a problem with my spiritual gifts and you're a religious person, then please go, because I'm not buying into that, okay? I do believe in the gifts that I have. And I know exactly where they come from. And I'm not going to deny myself or reduce myself or say something to make you happy, because I'm just going to be myself. Keep your opinions to yourself. If you don't like somebody on the platform, the best thing you can do for yourself is to move along if that person's bothering you. Okay? It's really none of your business. And I think, if we're all getting information geographically, like from where we're from, maybe, if I get my resources returned to me, I can move out of this community and then I'll be in a different community and you won't even see me anyway. It would be a win-win for all of us, right? Yeah, it would be. So, again, I'm not competing with anybody that's in the religious spectrum. I'm not competing with anyone that is, a spiritualist. No, I'm just I'm sharing my gifts with you. Things that I know are true. I know that they're absolutely true without a shadow of a doubt. And so I have nothing to fear because I'm willing to speak in integrity to you. And it's really up to you to take it or leave it, okay? It's really not my problem what you think of me. I would never dream of harming you. I don't bother you. I don't come after you. So there's just no reason for that. Okay, so what I did do, even though I really did like doing this above the toilet, what I did do, let me get this. Hold on. I got my pewter bowl and I have water inside of it, okay? And so I'm going to make my list. And this is kind of how it goes. And you can decide what you want to do for yourself. But I promise you, it really does work. And this is just a notebook. I don't believe in witchcraft, like in the sense where you're actually a witch. You know what I mean? I don't do things like that. It worries me about those sort of things. However, I know that even in religion, there's some ritualistic practices that I've been exposed to and I learned even more about. So what I'm doing is so far less, you know, invasive than those things. Okay, these are real. This is really simple. All right, it's just really simple, and I do it on New Year's because that's when we make our lists and our goals and everything. And this is just one of those little things that I do to really purge something away from me. Okay, so the first thing that comes to mind: negative people. So I don't want to be personal and give out personal names. So I'm just going to say negative people. People. All right, negative people. People that are viciously competitive. They're not. It's not like they're not supportive of each other. They're really nasty about it. Okay, nasty competitive people. Okay, nasty competitive people. Um, I mean, so I think that I'm purging. Well, I mean, negative people, that covers a lot. But let me think about myself personally. Fear. Whatever fear I have left in me, I want to purge I want to purge the fear out of me. Fear. Fear of angry, hostile people. Let's see, what else? Shame. I want to get rid of shame. Shame's got to go. But you know what? The thing is, I would put shame is different than guilt. Shame is more like you're abusing yourself when you feel shame. You're abusing, instead of saying what you did was bad, you're saying that you are bad. And so there's a difference between shame, right, and just feeling guilty. Guilt has a place, Guilt, there's sometimes you should feel guilty. Now, one of the things that really bothered me a lot about the guilty thing was when, before people really knew me, I was getting all kinds of Christian stuff telling me what a terrible person I was and I needed to repent and all this stuff, and I was like, what are they talking about? Me? But it was coming to me. It was so heavily being projected at me. It was really making me angry. I mean, it made me want to walk away from religion because people were projecting because of the lies that had been told about me. They did a smear campaign, as you know, on me. And so people were believing things that were absolutely not the truth. And they weren't bothering to do their homework. They just, but there was an agenda because, I'm a trust fund baby and, I was stolen, and no, you can't come after it. I've got protection. Sorry. No, we've got, an ironclad truck coming. So anyway, but no matter what, because of who I am and what happened, to me as a baby, I've got really nasty people around me, and part of it is, well, it's not really my fault because I really did call the police when I knew some things were going on, but they wouldn't help me, and so I had to come to this community and beg people. I had to beg the law to help me. And it got worse and worse until finally somebody started to listen to me. And it shouldn't take, I mean, when we're here and there's someone in distress, we need to listen because now we know that when somebody has done a smear campaign on you and you call the police and get help, they might be slow to come and help you. This is really serious. So, I want to get rid of every little last ounce of whatever is left to my broken heart. I want it gone. And I'm not brokenhearted over any relationship, like any kind of love relationship. It's not that. It's more or less disappointment and heartbreak about people I thought I knew. It's one thing, we have relationships that end all of the time. But when it's people that are close to you that know you, that's a different story. That is that's more hurtful than anything you can imagine. And I really want to break that bond. So no more hurt feelings against people that sought out to hurt, harm, even take my life. My hurt feelings are gone. I want them, all of it gone. So I no longer want any hurt feelings or any broken heart. I want the people that are projecting negative energy to my sacral chakra. I can feel it when they do that. And I'm going to take my right hand and I alchemize it and I send it return to sender to any and all negative people that are projecting their negative feelings toward me. I'm taking all of that, return to sender 144,000 times. I don't deserve it, and I never did. Okay. Sending negative projections. Those people sending negative projections. All right. Oh, I want to dissolve all blocks, all mental blocks from my vision and my mind. I want to be able to see all the players and all of the negative intentions from people right away. So I want to remove all my blocks. All blocks. It's better to see people for what they are. And the sooner the better. Wouldn't you say? Wouldn't you like to know that you could do that too? That you could just see people for what they are soon after you meet them? It might take a few times, but you know. And it's not like I'm I'm not scanning people over here. But I do feel that when you're online, you can't see people right away. You don't know who they are because we can't see who they are behind the scenes. But I can feel them. I can feel the projections, and I can take all that energy and I can just throw it out the window and say, you can't do anything to me. And I say this in the name of Jesus Christ, that you cannot come and harm me. I promise you, you can't. No. It'll bounce right off me and go right back to you. I promise you. Not sometimes, all the time. Because I ask him to protect me. Every day, and does. Okay, so all these negative, move all blocks. Help me to be slow to anger. I like that one. Slow to anger. Okay, I think that's, right now that's all that's coming to me. That's all that's coming to me at the moment. Okay, so what I would do, usually I would write each one and then tear it off like I did, like one thing at a time, right? So, oops. And I did the same thing earlier on, like even a couple of years ago. I wrote specific names down, and I broke I did my best to break the bonding rituals that were placed on me to try to keep me attached to certain people, and but I'm not holding on to anybody. I'm not. There's some people I'm not even thinking of, so I'm not thinking of them to even push them away. But the ones for sure you know, I wrote down names and people that I knew I had to let go of, right? And I meant it. I was very serious. I wasn't kidding. And because I realized that they didn't have my best interest in mind. And, you know, I'm not going to just let them stay when they clearly don't care about me or my safety. And under those circumstances, you have to say goodbye, right? All right, so I'm just throw this off, and these things I'm just gonna burn, and I'll, you know, drop it in the water. I purged this. The things I've written on this piece of paper, I'm purging from my life. Oops, that was close. I want positive people in my life. Good people. You know, and I can go back and make my list of what I do want to keep. I need to find a good ritual for those I want to keep. Something, maybe I'll write them down and put them in a basket so I can pull them out later and say, okay, I want to keep this, I want to keep that. I definitely want to keep music. Absolutely. That's my first wish. And I love traveling. I do, especially ancient history, and I know you know that. I love comedy and acting. I like plays. Forever be gone. And then I've got them in a bowl of water here. And later, I will take and flush it down the toilet. It will be purged in the cesspools of scum forever. But anyway, you could try it. I mean, and when you do it like with real intent, you know, and then pray about it too, and ask Heavenly Father to help you keep your commitments that you've made, and that He's with you, and that when you're tempted to, you know, I believe in defending yourself. I really do. And I do believe in righteous anger. I do. There's a time where there is reason to be very angry. There is. That is anger. It's anger because when you're in the wrong, that's the problem. But there's anger when you're right and somebody doesn't want to see the truth. We all have our emotions, every single one of them, for a reason. We do. I really do thank you for listening to me. I do appreciate it. I hope you have a great evening. And I hope that, you know, I can help in any way. I hope that I can say something to make you feel better. But I know that many of you spiritualists, even the ones I've recently come across, I really do appreciate you. You've been wonderful. And I'm so grateful for your investigations and for really helping me get to the bottom of things. It means a lot to me. It really does. And that's why I respect you so much, is because you like to find the truth. Most of you do. Most of you want the truth. And I'm sure that everybody's has at one time or the other wanted justice for themselves. That's why the ones that really are trying to get to the bottom of the truth, you know, I really do respect you, and I'm grateful. And I'll see you again soon. Thanks. Bye.